3 spine-chilling true stories of sinister discoveries in haunted parks you won't believe. Misty Pines looked like any other suburb, manicured lawns, children's laughter echoing through the air, and streetlights casting a warm glow on evening strolls. But beneath its charming surface, something sinister lurked. 10-year-old Max Parker's curiosity led him to an old, battered diary hidden beneath a decaying log at the park's edge, but this was no ordinary journal. Its pages whispered horrifying tales of ancient rituals, spirits longing for revenge, and strange shadows gliding through the trees. That night, as the wind howled and the darkness crept in, laughter turned to shivers that prickled down Max's spine. At first, it was just odd noises late at night. The Parkers' golden retriever, Rusty, began to bark at shadows, his fur bristling with fear. Then one evening, rustling in the back garden sent Max running to his parents, who dismissed it as just the wind. But Max felt something was off. Max's heart raced louder than before as he looked at the diary again, the ink smudged and brittle with age. He read about the park's dark history while his parents were distracted. Every chilling passage drew him in like a moth to a flame. Shadows danced in the recesses of his mind, weaving a tapestry of dread that made it hard to sleep. Weeks passed, and pets from the neighborhood began to disappear, their absence hanging heavy in the air. It wasn't just rusty cats, dogs, what could have been beloved companions vanished without a trace. The cheerful neighborhood that once bustled with friendly faces morphed into silence and paranoia. Neighbors peered from their windows, thin curtains pulled tight, eyes wide with fear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the Parkers visited the local authorities for answers, the officers looked at them with dismissive smiles, brushing off their fears as mere imagination. It's just a phase, families experience these sorts of hysteria, one cop chuckled, shrugging it off. But it wasn't just hysteria. It was real. Max sensed it crawling up his spine when he spotted Rusty's collar caught on the fence. A cold sweat ran down his back. Where was his dog? Frantic whispers from the neighbors ricocheted off the walls of homes that now felt like prisons. Desperate to escape, the Parkers planned an outing to a nearby town, ready to leave their fears behind. But fate had different plans. As they stepped into the local diner, they locked eyes with a familiar face from Misty Pines. The haunting gleam in their eyes sent a chill through Max, leaving him breathless. Who could they trust? An icy grip wrapped around Max's heart. Figures flitted just beyond his vision, their intentions shrouded in darkness. A wave of panic washed over him. The real horror was not just the whispers in the diary but the lurking danger of those they considered friends. Did the terrors at Misty Pines run deeper than they ever realized? As the sun began to rise, casting long shadows on the street, the truth loomed large. Would they be able to escape the suffocating grip of their once beloved community, or had they already become prisoners in their own home? Max's palms were slick with sweat as he stared at the familiar face across the diner. Mrs. Benson, the sweet old lady who had always baked cookies for the neighborhood kids, was now the epitome of discomfort. Her eyes, usually warm and inviting, were filled with a wild fear that made Max's stomach drop. "Max," she said, her voice edged with panic. "You shouldn't be here. They're watching. You need to go home. Now." He exchanged a frantic glance with his parents, who seemed equally bewildered. Mrs. Benson leaned closer. "Trust no one. Not even them." She gestured with a shaky hand toward a table in the corner, where 2 men sat, their worn hats pulled low over their faces. They were watching the Parkers with a predatory intensity. The nearby din of laughter and clattering plates faded into a distant murmur as the weight of her warning settled over them. Max shivered, an icy claw gripping his heart. He turned to his father. "We should leave, Dad." But his father, always rational, shook his head. "We need to figure out what is going on first. We can't just leave." Max interjected, feeling the surge of panic rising in him. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the diner into darkness for a heartbeat. When they blinked back on, the two men were gone. Vanished. Gone like the neighborhood pets. Max's breath hitched in fear. As the other patrons continued their meals, oblivious, Max felt a rising sense of urgency. They hurried outside, a brisk chill hugging them as the sunlight peeked from behind ominous clouds. The previously bright day now felt suffocating, the shadows deeper and more menacing. With every step toward their car, Max felt the weight of unseen eyes glaring, dissecting him, desperate for something he didn't understand. "Why do we have to leave so soon?" his mother asked, her voice quaking in the cold air. "Just drive, Mom," he begged, pushing open the car door and slamming it shut behind him. The muffled noise of the town faded, surrounded by his racing thoughts. Clutching the diary tightly, he whispered the words Mrs. Benson had warned him with, "They're watching." As his father turned the key in the ignition, a flicker of movement caught Max's eye. A shadow darted behind a nearby tree, before disappearing into the thick undergrowth of the park. Max's instincts screamed at him. "Did you see that?" he shouted, but his parents were absorbed in their own fear and whispers. Max couldn't wait any longer. He had to know the truth. He bolted from the car, his legs carrying him toward the tree-line. The park that once felt like home was now a sinister maze. A chorus of whispers echoed among the rustling leaves, calling to him. "Max, get back." His mom's voice rang out, but he could barely hear her. The diary clutched tightly to his chest drew him. Each step felt heavier, pulling him deeper into the darkness. The air thickened, making it hard to breathe. "Rusty!" he called, desperate for reassurance, for a familiar bark. Suddenly, something shifted in the shadows. A figure lurked, blending with the untreated bark of ancient trees. Max froze, heart thudding against his ribcage. The figure stepped forward, revealing an adolescent boy with sunken eyes and a hollow expression. He looked familiar, but there was something off, something deeply unsettling about him. "What do you want?" Max rasped, fear seeping into every word. "They're waiting for you," the boy murmured, glancing back toward the park. "You need to come with me before it's too late." Max shivered. Who was this boy? What did he mean by they? "Max, please." His parents were shouting now, urgency dripping from their voices, but the boy was already retreating into the trees. The shadows seemed to pulse around them, as if hungry for Max. He was suddenly faced with a choice. Follow the boy into the darkness and discover the terrifying truth, or turn back and leave it all behind, potentially dooming everyone he loved. As the air grew heavier and charged with unspeakable terror, Max stood at the edge of revelation, but would he dare to step into the unknown? He took a deep breath, his heart racing. What awaited him in the depths of misty pines? Max took a tentative step toward the tree line, the boy's hollow eyes fading into the shadows. Behind him, his parents' frantic calls echoed in his mind, but it was the whispering wind that seemed to drown them out, compelling him forward. The air was thick and oppressive, dragging him deeper into the darkness that surrounded misty pines. He hesitated, looking back. His father was still seated in the car, panic etched on his face, while his mother searched the surroundings. They were lost in their fear, but Max felt something pull him further. It was a sensation he couldn't shake, an itch at the back of his mind, gnawing at him, urging him to understand. "Max!" A rasping voice called from the depths of the park. It was the boy again, lurking just out of sight. "You have to hurry." Max clenched the diary, the cramped notes inside felt alive, bubbling with secrets. Ignoring his instincts to flee back to safety, he dashed into the tree-line, silence engulfing him like a thick fog. The branches loomed higher, creaking ominously, as if warning him to turn back. A chill swept through him. This wasn't the park he remembered. Ahead, the boy emerged again, this time more defined, a wraith-like figure standing among the twisted roots. "You have to know the truth," he hissed, urgency twisting his features. "About what?" Max demanded, anger and fear merging. "What is happening here? They're not who they seem." The boy gestured behind him into the canopy, his eyes wide, glistening with an unnatural light. "This place hides secrets, and they want you to forget." The name of the shadowy figures loomed across Max's thoughts. Were they the same ones Mrs. Benson warned about? What did hiding the truth even mean? In the heart of the woods, the sunlight faded to a twilight gloom that made his skin crawl. "Max!" His mother's voice, broken and terrified, drifted from behind. But she was definitely too far away. "Please, come back." Instinctively, he turned but found himself rooted to the spot. The boy stepped closer, now almost whispering. "They're watching. You need to decide. Either trust me, or let them take you." Max shuddered at the thought. They were already watching, weren't they? The ominous feeling prickled his skin. The shadowy figures were waiting quietly, plotting. What choice did he have? "What do I need to do?" he asked, doubt tightening his throat. "You must uncover the hidden place, the one where the truth lies," the boy said, urgency lacing each word. "Before it's too late." "What hidden place?" Max persisted, eyes darting wildly. He felt time slipping away, chance of panic bubbling beneath his thoughts. The boy pointed deeper into the shadows. "The old tower. Beneath it is where they keep their secrets. You'll find answers there, but you must hurry." The wind whipped around him, carrying a distant, haunting melody that sent waves of dread crashing into Max. Trust this boy, a stranger in the woods, or turn back to the safety of his parents, who were trapped in their own whirlwind of terror? A loud crack echoed from behind him, snapping Max from his tumultuous thoughts. He turned, and panic shot through him. From the corner of his eye, he caught sight of two figures emerging from the trees, those same shadowy men from the diner, their hats pressed low, faces obscured. They moved with an unsettling grace, gliding through the underbrush. "Max!" His mother yelled again, this time more desperate. He hesitated, the boy's warning resonating within him. The choice before him felt monumental. And yet, with one last terrified glance back, Max sprinted towards the shadows of the trees, his heart hammering in his chest. The boy beckoned, a phantom in the gloom, a guide into the unknown. He had to know the truth, whatever it was better than the fate that awaited them if he chose to turn back. Would the truth free them, or would it bind him deeper into the terror of Misty Pines? The darkness thickened, swallowing him whole as he followed the boy. Every step resonated with foreboding, as the shadows closed in around them. And then the ground shook beneath him, and a low rumble filled the air, punctuated by a blood-curdling scream that shattered the silence. What had they awoken? Max's breath quickened, his feet thudding against the forest floor as the shadows seemed to snarl around him. Each gust of wind sounded like whispers intent on dragging him back. He focused on the boy, who was leading him deeper into an unsettling void, his pale face barely illuminated by the threads of fading light. "Keep going," the boy insisted, glancing back nervously at the echoing screams. The earth trembled again, a warning rumble that sent shivers sprawling through Max's spine. He could feel the shift in the atmosphere, heavy with an unseen gaze that weighed down on him, desperate to cripple his resolve. "Why the tower?" Max gasped, pushing through underbrush that tugged at his clothing as if the forest itself was trying to pull him back. "The secrets buried there, they control everything," the boy whispered, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and urgency. "They know what we fear. You might be the only one who can stop them." Something deep inside Max, a potent mix of dread and adrenaline, told him that time was slipping through his fingers. He couldn't slow down. The memory of his parents' frantic shouts echoed like a distant bell tolling a warning. But what if I can't? The boy stopped, staring intently into Max's eyes. You're already a part of this now. If you turn back, you won't just lose your parents, they will take everything else too. Do you want that? Every ounce of bravery crumbled inside Max, but the thought of it made him propel forward, motivated by something deeper than panic. Disgust mingled with resolve. Let us go. They dodged fallen branches and thick roots, the trees towering above them like ancient giants guarding mortal secrets. Soon, they arrived at a clearing, a sudden break in the oppressive gloom. In the center stood the old tower, a crumbling hulk reaching toward the darkening sky. It loomed like a sentinel, foreboding and majestic, wrapped in a shroud of ivy that clung around it like the fingers of the lost. Here! The boy urged, sprinting towards the structure, his form almost ethereal. As Max followed, he noticed strange carvings etched into the stone, symbols he couldn't quite comprehend flickered beneath the oppressive dark. What do these mean? He murmured, tracing a finger over one that looked like a gaping mouth, its teeth sharp and menacing. They're warnings of what happens if you forget, the boy replied, voice barely above a whisper. But you must go inside. It's the only way. The air around the tower buzzed with tension, like electricity crackling in the air before a storm. Max's hands trembled as he reached for the heavy door, splintered wood warped and twisted over time. He pushed with a surge of determination, and to his surprise, it creaked open with a reluctant groan. Inside, darkness swallowed him whole. It was a void thick enough to drown in, and he fought the instinct to scream. He could hear the boy breathing next to him, a tangible reminder of reality amidst his rising panic. Suddenly, the ground underfoot tremored violently, and with it came a cacophony of whispers that washed over them like a wave, forcing Max to clutch his ears. They were indistinguishable yet maddeningly familiar, a chorus woven from fear and longing. Don't listen. The boy shouted, panic rising in his voice. They're trying to lure you in. We have to find the center. Max swallowed hard, his heart pounding and hands slick with sweat. He pressed on, losing himself in the blackness, feeling for the walls as the whispers crescendoed into an unintelligible roar. The boy's presence beside him ebbed and flowed like a flickering flame. It's just ahead. I promise. Then, in one chaotic moment, the walls split with a blinding light. Max blinked, his eyes adjusting to an eerie glow emanating from a gaping fissure in the floor beneath a shattered stone slab. He peered into it, dread pooling in his stomach as shadows flitted like specters in the light. What is it? He shouted. But the boy simply stared, face draining of color. This is the truth, he breathed. Before Max could respond, the ground lurched once more, throwing him off balance. He stumbled forward, teetering on the edge of the abyss. And just as he was about to seize the boy's arm, darkness erupted around him, swirling like a vortex. Could he face what hovered in the depths? What lay in that light? Would he and the boy emerge unscathed, or would they succumb to the terrifying truths hidden within misty pines? The darkness clutched at Max like ice water, pulling him deeper into its grasp. Frantic, he struggled to regain his footing, the boy's panicked face all but vanishing into the blackness. Hold on. He called, but the words choked in his throat as a gripping terror enveloped him. The fissure pulsed with a menacing glow, the shadows around him writhing like serpents, eager to swallow him whole. He felt a jolt, the ground shuddering violently before he was jerked forward. The abyss opened wider, gaping as if it were alive, hungry. The sound of distant screams echoed in the void, twisting through the darkness until they blended with the whispers surrounding him. His throat constricted, panic threatening to erupt as he fought against its pull. Max! The boy's voice came again, stronger now, slicing through the chaos. Don't let it take you. Max clawed at the solid earth, his fingers scraping against rough stone, grounding him in this horrifying reality. He looked up, desperately searching for the boy. Fear hung thick in the air as he caught sight of the boy, his features illuminated momentarily by the eldritch glow from below. The boy was still, frozen in an expression of dread. "What do we do?" Max shouted, his voice shaky, barely a whisper beneath the cacophony. "Trust me." The boy yelled back, eyes wide with determination. "We need to confront it. We're stronger together." In that frantic moment, determination overpowered his fear. With a resolute shout, he lunged towards the boy, each step feeling like a battle against invisible tendrils threatening to drag him into the void. A sudden shock coursed through him as his body collided with the boy's. They tumbled as the tremors intensified underfoot, the ground threatening to tear apart. The light from the fissure revealed jagged stones and shadowed symbols that danced upon the walls, a maddening script that felt alive, each glyph breathing as it pulsated menacingly. "Focus." The boy again grounded Max's senses, and he nodded, blinking back his terror. Together, they approached the fissure, an urge to peek into its depths gripping Max's heart, each beat echoing the whispers of doubt. As they leaned closer, a chilling voice emerged from the shadows, lacing through the air like smoke. "You ventured too far, it's too late." Max's breath hitched, sweat rolling down his temples. "What do you want?" he shouted, his voice weak against the shake of the stone beneath them. "Something dear to you, it's a fair trade for your compliance." The voice twisted, an amalgamation of everything he feared: his parents, solitude, abandonment. Images flashed in his mind, distorting reality and blurring his focus. Hazy visions of his life back home became tangled with the ominous presence surrounding him. "Don't listen, Max." The boy's voice snapped him back, grounding him again. "We need to fight it. The truth is in our hands." Max hesitated, torn between fluttering hope and a growing dread. In that moment, he recalled the carvings, the warnings. "We have to go deeper," he exclaimed, realizing the answer might lie in the very heart of their fears. They plunged into the fissure, light engulfing them as they fell. It twisted and turned, both suffocating and exhilarating. Max felt as if his soul was being pulled apart, the screeching whispers demanding he surrender. "Together!" the boy yelled, gripping his hand tightly. Max felt the solid connection, like an anchor in a storm. And as they descended into the depths, the world above them fell away, leaving only an overwhelming shadow of doubt in their wake. Max's heart thundered in his chest. Could they truly confront what lay before them? Or had they just sealed their fate, surrendering to the very darkness they sought to escape? The answers awaited them below, hidden amidst the horrors they were yet to face. The plunge felt endless, a free fall into an abyss of darkness thicker than night itself. Max struggled to keep his eyes open, the wind around them howling like something alive and desperate. It whipped at his skin, chilling him to the bone. All he could feel was the boy's grip, fierce and unwavering, tethering him to a frail sense of hope. The fall slowed, and they landed hard, bodies sprawled against a cold, damp floor. Max gasped as he pushed himself up, trying to shake off the disorientation. The air was musty, heavy with the scent of decay and something far worse: fear. The darkness here was profound, even their breaths disappeared into it. He turned to find the boy at his side, his eyes darting, scanning their surroundings. "Where are we?" Max croaked, the question slipping between trembling lips. "Shoo!" the boy hissed, eyes narrowing. "Listen." Max strained to hear something beyond his own racing heartbeat. A low, rhythmic thumping echoed somewhere far off, punctuated by rustling sounds that slithered through the silence. The boy's grip on his hand tightened again, as if sharing the weight of their terror. "Do you hear that?" the boy murmured, creeping forward on his knees. Max followed cautiously, his palms sweating, heart pounding. The dim light glimmered against the damp walls, revealing more of the ominous symbols they had seen above. If those symbols were warnings, they were now an ominous invitation. As they edged forward, the thumping grew louder. It thrummed through Max's bones, resonating with the fear deep within him. He wanted to turn back, but the boy pressed on, eyes alight with an eerie determination. Ahead, a faint glow flickered, and shadows danced across the cracked rock surface, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock them. What is that?" Max stammered, panic bubbling up. "Just a little closer," whispered the boy, as if coaxing a wounded animal. They crept toward the glow, desperation driving them. As they rounded a corner, the source of the light became clear, a colossal stone pedestal, etched in the same maddening scripts. It pulsed with an otherworldly energy that made Max's skin crawl. And there, seated upon it like a grotesque crown, was a skull far too large for any human. Its empty eye sockets seemed to bore into him, searching him. "Max," the boy breathed, "this could be it. This is what we need." A chill skittered down Max's spine. "What do you mean? We can't just take it. What if it's cursed?" The moment the words left his mouth, the thumping ceased. Silence flooded the air, a hush so complete it felt suffocating. The glowing skull shifted slightly, as if awakening to their presence. "What have you done?" A voice, deep and resonant, echoed around them, vibrations shaking the ground. Max turned to run, but the darkness pressed in around them, solid and immovable. The boy stood frozen in place, eyes widening in horror. "We need to leave," he urged, but Max was already being tugged back, an unseen force gripping him tighter than fear. "Too late," the voice hissed, wrapping around them like a serpent. "Enter your fate, or leave your life." Max's breath shattered into shallow gasps, the urge to flee mixing with a compulsion to uncover the truth. Could it be some twisted riddle? Urgent whispers twisted through his mind, memories, regrets, what he was willing to sacrifice. "What do we do?" Max gasped, fighting the force pulling him toward the pedestal. "Trust me." The boy pleaded again, plunging toward the skull. But as he reached out, shadows erupted from the pedestal, surrounding him like grasping hands. "Your choice, little boy." The voice rumbled, chilling Max to the core. "Embrace the darkness for power, or perish in the light." As shadows whipped around the boy, a chilling dread enveloped Max. He had to act, but what choice was left? Was there a way to save them both, or was everything slipping away, consumed by the very darkness they feared? Max's heart raced. What would be the price of their survival? Would the answer lie in the sinister choice before them, or had they already passed the point of no return? The shadows coiled tighter around the boy, gliding over him like a shroud. Max could see the terror etched on his face, the flicker of desperation in his wide eyes. He needed to do something, and quickly. The voice echoed around them, a dark melody that filled the cavern with dread. "Help! Get him away from that thing!" Max yelled, summoning every ounce of courage he had left. But as he reached out, the darkness tugged him back, and the cold air pressed in, suffocating. He felt his breath catch in his throat, panic clawing at his insides. "Max!" the boy cried, his voice strained against the encroaching shadows. "You have to pull me out." And then Max knew, deep down, he had to act before it was too late. He couldn't leave the boy behind. No matter the cost. Grabbing at the cold, damp earth, he launched himself forward, each movement requiring impossible effort, as if the darkness had come alive, wrapping itself around his legs, dragging him down. The boy was still reaching towards the skull, but Max could see an energy crackling around it, dark tendrils of power weaving into the boy's skin. "Don't touch it!" Max screamed, desperation fueling his voice, filling every corner of the chamber with his fear. But the shadows were stronger now, pulling the boy under their spell. Max could feel his own heart pounding, a drum echoing in the silence of the cavern, mingling with the throbbing from the pedestal. "Please!" the boy begged, his tone breaking. "I can feel it. It's calling me. Suddenly, the voice boomed again, vibrating through the air like thunder. Choose. The darkness offers great power. Deny it and face oblivion. The boy was trembling, caught in a gravitational pull from the skull. One look in his eyes told Max everything. It was a battle of souls, of desperation and desire. Max lunged toward the boy, his heart racing as he fought against the shadows. He could sense an unseen force barreling down on them, a malevolent weight that made his skin crawl. The cavern seemed to distort around them, the walls pulsing with dark energy, as if the entire structure was very much alive and watching them. Fight it! Max yelled, his voice edged with urgency. Don't let it take you. At the sound of his voice, the boy's expression shifted slightly, caught between horror and longing. He faltered, his hand hovering inches from the skull as he seemed to look past it and into the void. And then, a horrifying realization hit Max. The shadows weren't just trying to claim the boy, they were trying to claim him too. He felt the cold grip of fear tighten around him, a whisper of despair creeping into his mind. The darkness wanted him to give in, to embrace it completely. Max. I don't want to die. The boy screamed, his voice cracking, shattering under the weight of unbearable dread. With a fierce determination, Max forced himself closer. You won't die. We'll escape this together. He grabbed the boy's wrist, pulling as hard as he could. The shadows screeched, a horrid chorus rising and writhing, angry at his defiance. The pedestal glowed fiercely, casting a ghastly light that illuminated the fear in the boy's eyes. The vibrations grew stronger, shaking the ground beneath them. Max braced himself, locking eyes with the boy. Hold on. I need you with me. Focus. And then, an absolute deafening roar erupted around them. The shadows lunged, snapping like vicious jaws craving their flesh, but Max held on, his grip refusing to let go. The boy blinked, as realization dawned, he was not alone in this fight. In that charged moment, a blinding flash erupted from the pedestal, overwhelming their senses, bright and encasing them in white light. Together. Max commanded. They surged forward, feeling the uncanny energy pulse through them, a desperate mix of light and dark cracking as they raced toward freedom or toward worse horrors that awaited them. What lay beyond the madness? Would it lead them to freedom or to a deeper abyss? Could their bond withstand the monstrous forces unleashed, or were they racing toward a fate far darker than they imagined? The blinding light enveloped them, tearing through the shadows that had held them captive. An intense heat radiated from the pedestal, burning against Max's skin, yet he felt electrified, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. For a moment, it felt like they could defy the darkness, like they had a fighting chance. But then the light flickered, casting vivid shadows that danced like manic spirits along the cavern walls. The boy gasped, eyes wide with fear as the brilliant glow began to fade, replaced by a deeper, more ominous darkness. What's happening? He shouted, panic rising in his voice. Hold on. Max urged, pulling the boy with all his might, but the shadows were regrouping, writhing back together like a living entity. They lashed out, snapping at their legs and arms with the ferocity of wild animals. The weight of it pressed down, suffocating their resolve. Suddenly, a new sound echoed deep within the cavern, a guttural roar that sent chills rippling along Max's spine. The earth trembled beneath their feet as the pedestal pulsed, each throb like a heartbeat, throbbing in sync with his own fear, alive, aware, and angry. Get away from that thing. A voice thundered, but it wasn't the dark voice they had heard earlier. This was familiar, a deep-toned counterpoint that sent a new wave of dread through Max. He turned, squinting against the fading light, to see a shadowy figure emerging from the depths, clad in dark robes that billowed like smoke. Who are you? Max managed to choke out, heart pounding incessantly. I am the Guardian, the figure replied, stepping closer. I set the rules for those who dare disturb the balance. The Guardian's face remained shrouded in shadow, but its presence felt oppressive, radiating authority and menace. What balance? The boy trembled, his eyes darting between Max and the figure. The balance between this world and the shadows that crave it. You toyed with forces you do not understand. The guardian paused, surveying them with an unreadable expression. You are caught in a web of your own making. Max felt ice flood his veins. Let us go. We didn't mean to interfere. The guardian tilted its head, contemplating, before locking eyes with the boy. The sacrifice must be made. Will you forsake your friend and accept the power I offer? No. The boy cried, drawing back from the guardian's gaze. I want to leave him. The shadows surged, pushing forward, clamoring to take what they desired. Max could feel their clammy fingers scraping against his skin, pulling him down. The cavern started to darken further, as if they were sinking into a pit of night. Choose. The guardian thundered. Life or true power? Friendship or domination? Inside, Max felt a battle rage. He didn't want to let go of anything. The boy was his friend, they had fought together against this terror. But flashes of what lay ahead tugged at his mind, whispers of control, freedom from fear. The shadows rallied around them, sinister promises in the air. No! He shouted, shaking off the allure. We choose to fight back. With desperation, Max yanked the boy away from the pillar with a surge of strength, pulling him against the oncoming tide of darkness. They stumbled, falling, feeling the coldness turn to a sharp burn as the shadows recoiled from the light they had ignited. The guardian's expression shifted hurriedly, a moment of surprise crossing its features. You would rather face the abyss than embrace power? It stepped back, caught off guard. Max and the boy scrambled to their feet, racing toward a narrow fissure just visible in the cavern wall. This way! He shouted, the sound nearly drowned out by the cacophony of rage erupting behind them. As they dived through the crack, the temperature inside dropped, tension gripping them. The shadows roared, thrumming in fury, but they made it through into a new tunnel. What lay ahead? Was this escape or merely another trap? Did they outrun the darkness, or would it follow, prowling just out of sight? The fear clawed at Max's throat, gnawing at his resolve. They could still hear the discordant cries of the shadows rising beyond the fissure, promising vengeance. Would they be ready for what came next, or was that the end of their fight against the encroaching night? The tunnel they tumbled into felt alive. The walls pulsed with a dampness that seeped into their clothes, chilling them to the bone. Max could barely breathe, the air heavy with the scent of decay and something metallic like blood. The low rumble of the shadows echoed behind them, a reminder of the darkness that was still hungry for their fear. Where are we? The boy whispered, his voice trembling. I don't know. Just keep moving. Max said, urging him forward. The narrow passage twisted and turned, almost as if it were trying to confuse them, to lead them back into the darkness. With each step, the shadows shrieked behind them, an angry wail that made Max's heart race faster. The vibration rattled through the stone floor, and he could feel the shadow's breath on his neck, a coldness that licked at his skin and sent shivers down his spine. Max! Look! The boy pointed ahead, and Max followed his gaze to where dim light flickered in the distance. It was soft, almost inviting, but the flicker made it dance like a candle flame in a storm. Let us go. Max said, pulling the boy along. The light drew them like moths, and for a moment, hope bloomed in his chest. Maybe it was a way out, salvation. As they approached, the tunnel widened into a small cavern, filled with an eerie glow emanating from a circle of stones arranged like a makeshift altar. Wisps of smoke curled above it, swirling like spirits trapped in a glass jar. What is this place? The boy murmured, stepping forward curiously. No. Don't. Max tried to warn him, but it was too late. The boy crossed into the circle of light, and the soft glow morphed into a blinding brilliance that momentarily blinded Max. When the light subsided, the boy stood still, a look of awe mixed with terror on his face. "It's beautiful," he breathed, entranced by something just out of reach. "Snap out of it!" Max shouted, fear escalating as the shadows surged closer behind him. The boy was standing at the edge of the sphere, illuminated by a glow that gnawed at Max's resolve. Suddenly, the shadows coiled around the boy's feet, hissing like vipers. "No!" Max yelled, lunging to pull him away, but a force held him back, as if an invisible hand gripped his throat. "Max, it's calling to me," the boy's voice trembled, a slight smile betraying the fear dancing in his eyes. "Don't listen to it!" Max screamed, desperation clawing at him. He could feel the air thickening, the shadows reaching out, hungry and relentless. "Fight it!" Just then, the guardian's voice echoed through the chamber, low and menacing. "The light reveals true intentions. Choose wisely, or lose everything. It's a trick." Max shouted, aware of the weight of the shadows creeping up behind him. "It wants to separate us." The boy's eyes narrowed, but the glow was mesmerizing. For a split second, Max thought he could see visions swirling in the light, memories, happiness, a powerful surge of strength, but the shadows snatched at that flickering hope, clawing to extinguish it. "What do we do?" the boy asked, voice breaking as he wavered between the siren song of the light and the looming dark. "Together!" Max cried, determination rising even as fear threatened to swallow him whole. They had to connect, to fight the whispers and promises that wrapped around them like chains. "We're stronger together. Remember what we've been through." Just as the shadows lunged forward, they locked hands, holding tight. A fission of energy surged between them as they steadied their breath, grounding themselves against the tempest roaring around them. The cavern shook, light and dark clashing with fierce intensity. Max's heart raced, pounding against his ribs like a drum of war. Then it happened just when the shadows began to retreat, the light beckoned. Max's grip faded. The boy's eyes widened as a scream erupted from the darkness. "Max!" Was it a plea? A warning? As the lights and shadows collided, a new presence surged through the cavern, resonating with a force that threatened to tear them apart. "Don't let go!" Max shouted, but the pull of the light intensified, urging them toward an impossible choice. What would happen next? Would the shadows capture them, or could they break free against the opposing forces? The pulse of the darkness clawed at them, demanding an answer, and time was running out. The clash of chaos surrounded Max and the boy, echoing off the walls of the cavern, a symphony of horrors as shadows and light waged their invisible war. Max felt time fracturing, racing ahead without him, and clung to the boy's hand like a lifeline. Their connection was a buoy against the drowning pull of fear. "Together!" he shouted, his voice trembling with urgency. The boy drew in a breath, determination shifting his features. A spark ignited in his eyes, a flicker of defiance against the encroaching shadows. "We don't have to choose," he yelled, fighting against the urge to give in to the siren-esque call of the light. The shadows recoiled at their unity, hissing and clattering like angry creatures defending their territory. Max's heart surged at the realization that they weren't powerless, they could confront whatever darkness lay ahead. "Focus on each other," Max shouted, pouring every ounce of belief he had into their connection. "Feel the strength between us. We've made it this far together." The shadows surged closer, a palpable menace twisting around them, but their fear was swallowed by the urgency in their hearts. The air crackled as they held tight. Each breath fed the bond, drawing strength from their shared memories, their laughter, shared fears, and the warmth of friendship. The shadows writhed and thrashed in protest, but Max and the boy stood firm. The darkness couldn't take their resolve. Suddenly, a scream echoed from the shadows, pulling at the frayed edges of Max's confidence. It was a child's voice, filled with terror. Another memory stirred within him, a fleeting image of Rusty, his golden fur shining bright, barking joyously in misty pines. "Don't give in," Max shouted, grounding himself in the truth. As the shadows lunged with renewed ferocity, the cavern began to tremble violently. The pedestal pulsed with the echoes of power, drawing their attention back to its core. Max felt the darkness begin to unravel as if it were tethered to that ancient stone. It's this shrine. We need to confront it. With a shared look of determination, they surged toward the pedestal, breaking the invisible grip the shadows had on them. As they neared, the glow intensified, illuminating their path as if the light were a beacon pushing back the furious tide. Now! Max yelled, raising their intertwined hands. We stand against you. The shadows recoiled, writhing back from the power emanating from the energy they decreated. Waves of resistance rippled through the cavern, the shadows swirling in chaos. Together, they chanted the words from the diary, the secret that bound them to this horrifying place. The ancient incantation that Max had feverishly memorized echoed in the cavern, reverberating through the pit of darkness. The shadows howled, a furious response that sent tremors through the ground, but Max felt a surge of strength fill him, invigorating every ounce of hope within his heart. Let go of fear. We embrace the truth. They shouted as the two forms of energy, light and darkness, collided. The shadows shrieked, swirling against the force of their words. In a blinding flash, the cavern erupted, the light engulfing them as they stepped toward the pedestal. Max felt the tension rise, the weight lift, as a pulse of truth surged around him. With one last, desperate shout, they pushed, forcing the shadows back and sealing the fissure that had birthed their horror. When the brilliant light finally dimmed, silence replaced the cacophony. The cavern, once a domain of terror, transformed into something brighter, the symbols now glowing with warmth. Shadows faded, leaving only the smattering of dust in the air. The boy turned to Max, eyes shining with triumph and weariness. Did we do it? He breathed, hope flickering in his voice. Max smiled, feeling the weight of dread lift from his shoulders. We did it. We faced them together. As the dust settled, the cavern gradually morphed into a place of solace, filling their hearts with unspoken promises. They stepped outside, the world of misty pines beckoning with its golden light. The park was vibrant. Again children laughed in the distance, the path lined with flowers, life alive where darkness once loomed. Max dropped to his knees and hugged Rusty, who came bounding toward him, barking joyfully. Relief washed over him, and the burden of fear melted away. Thank you, he murmured to the boy beside him, who smiled, his expression warm and reassuring. Their experiences bound them forever, neighbors in the journey who triumphed over shadows, hidden truths no longer feared, but embraced as their strength. Let us go home, Max suggested, and together they walked off, side by side, ready to return to the safe corners of life, free from the burdens of darkness that once tainted their sweet memories. The shadows of misty pines could linger, but no longer would they conquer the hearts who dared to defy them. Their names would echo in stories, proof of hope surviving where fear reigned. And so life returned to Misty Pines, peaceful and whole once more, a testament that the strongest armor lies in truth, friendship and the courage to face what hides in the dark. And as dawn broke, Max knew that from that point on, life would shine just a little brighter because they dared to face their fears. So here we are, at the end of this haunting tale, but the adventure doesn't stop here. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will make your heart race. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these tales alive in the wild. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about everything you witnessed. I want to hear from you. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping this adventure alive.